going on, Sports Wars? It's Tugs here, and I'm here with Benny. We are going to be reacting to the NHL 2021 expansion draft, which happened a few days ago. The last 24 hours have been insane. Today was the unrestricted free agent and the restricted free agent draft. Lot happening, Benny. Like, it's been crazy this past 24 hours. I have not seen this many unrestricted free agents move around. Like, I can't even keep up with anybody. And Seattle picked their team last week, and they've already swapped a bunch of players, and I don't even know what's going on.
Honestly, yes, Seattle's been all over the place. The biggest thing that I saw happening within the last 24 hours was the Marc-Andre Fleury trade. Absolutely made no sense to me. Like, you have the Vezina trophy winning dude getting swapped for a bag of pucks, essentially.
Yeah, we didn't get hardly anything. We got this forward, whose name I'm gonna butcher, Mikhail Hakaranian. I'm sorry, Mikhail. I'm so sorry.
That's probably about as good as I'd do, to be honest.
That's it. Like, no trade. We didn't get a round pick. We didn't get. I mean, the only other thing that is good, and we have been talking as Golden Knights fans have been talking about it this whole time. There was a lot of drama, not this season that just ended, but last season. As I think most everybody knows, where Fleury's agent posted a photo of him being stabbed in the back because Robin Lehner was in the net most of the season, because we just got him. And then this season it flipped over. And of course, we all know Mark unfortunately put that goal on himself. That was a big, huge game changer. And so there's been kind of this underlying, this is not good. And we needed the salary dump. So on the business standpoint, I get it because we have no money. And he had one of the biggest contracts, short of DeAngelo, who's got I think our second biggest contract. But to do it the way that they did it, I found out this morning, we heard through the grapevine that he wasn't even told. He actually found out through like the news and social media. So there's just something really off-putting about that. I'm honestly shocked. Like, I feel like if they had sat him down and said, look, we need to get rid of this salary cap. We don't want to burn you. I feel like he either would have said, I'll retire, or he would have said, well, let me just take less money. Because he has said several times, just even in the last few months, that he wants to retire here. Like, he doesn't want to go anywhere else. And now he's going to the Blackhawks, which I don't know what he's going to do over there.
See, like, the Blackhawks have been making some decent trades the last couple, the last 24 hours, I'd even say. But at the same time, you have an aging core with Taves and Kane. I don't know how long they can stay. I know Taves didn't even play last year. No. So it's kind of interesting to see them trying to do a soft rebuild. But again, like, I totally agree with you. Like, Fleury wasn't even told. I know that they were talking to him before the season ended, that they were like, okay, look, like, we might move you. We'll let you know. Yeah. But the fact that he found out through Twitter is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, and he doesn't even have social media. That's the worst part. Like, he does not have social media. So that means somebody saw it and said, yo, what's going on? Probably one of his teammates, maybe Reeves or somebody who's constantly on social media, like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, I have no idea. And that really is, I don't like the way it was handled. And I think a lot of us, especially us Knights fans, can really, and maybe a couple of Penguins fans too, can agree that this was not handled well at all. And depending on what Chicago does, Fleury might pull a Tom Brady and go to a different team and get the cup. Like,
see, that's what I'm thinking too. Like, especially if Chicago decides that, like, we're doing a soft rebuild, we're not sure if we're going to be competitive. I know that Fleury wants to win the cup. That's his last, So he's definitely, I wouldn't say he's ready to retire. I think people who say that are just out of their mind. I think we were talking this other day. I thought that Fleury played a little bit better than Lehner, even though I think Lehner is coming to his own and he's been playing amazing. But that being said, with Chicago, it's so uncertain that I don't know if Fleury probably will play, but it'll be like, okay, I'm going to see how it goes. It's very similar to what Rask is doing in Boston.
Yeah, but absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I hate that it ended the way that it did. It could have been handled, in my opinion, so much better. And it just sucks. And I know that there's a lot of Golden Knights fans that are really upset right now. But I'm looking forward to Lehner in the net. He's totally different. He's got a completely different style. And so whoever we have left at the beginning of the season is really going to have to figure out how to work around him, because Robin's great, but he moves very differently than Fleury. Like Fleury's very quick. He can go from one end of the net to the other within a split second, and Lehner just doesn't move that way. So our forwards and our defense are going to have to work on really getting there to the net to protect him. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him in the net. I'm looking forward to him, but I just wish everything with Fleury had ended way better than it did, because this just leaves a bad taste in my mouth the way that was handled.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, and it's interesting because, like, you don't really see that from hockey teams too much. Like, I know, like, in football and basketball, you'll see, like, oh, yeah, this player's gone, like, down through social media. But usually, like NHL GMs are pretty cordial with that sort of stuff, like letting the player know before. It's just, yeah, I guess it's tough because it's like Fleury was the face of your guys' franchise, and the fact that they just did him like that, and they did him dirty last year too with the whole playoffs thing, even though Lehner was playing a lot better. But speaking of Lehner, what happened on social media was absolutely disgusting last night too.
He put out a thing on Twitter last night. For those of you who don't follow him, he put out a thing on Twitter yesterday because immediately when Fleury got traded, everybody bombarded. I mean, we got to chill, first of all. And I didn't see anything overly awful. I tried looking for stuff. So I think he got DMs, to be honest with you. I think he was getting, or maybe Instagram comments. I didn't check Instagram, but he put out a thing and was like, look, I love Fleury. Please don't attack, like, don't come for my mental health, which if you know anything about Robin Lehner, you know that he does have bipolar disorder. So he's got to watch it all the time. It's just a constant battle with him, just because it's what the disease is. And so they just were calling him terrible. They were blaming it on him. Like it's all his fault. Like he marched down the hallway at the office and banged on the door and was like, get rid of Fleury, which didn't happen, guys. Like they're friends. It's fine. Like relax. We just got to chill. I know we're all upset, but everybody's got to relax. Okay. No booing.
It kind of reminds, obviously this is a little bit different because, you know, Robert Lehner has bipolar and people started blaming his mental disorder, but it reminds me of the Vancouver Canucks almost 10 years ago when they had Luongo and Schneider. For those of you who remember, Schneider was out playing Luongo, and Luongo, I mean, was the face of the franchise for the Vancouver Canucks. He was the captain at one point, and he felt like he was betrayed and decided, hey, look, like I want to leave. But then they ended up trading Schneider instead, and the entire franchise was in shambles for a couple of years because of that. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen with Vegas, but it seems like that's probably the case at this point.
Me too. I hope it doesn't affect our players. I know it's going to affect the fans. There's going to be some sassy fans when we play the Blackhawks. That we do play them in January. So if Fleury does decide to stay with the Blackhawks and he doesn't end up like doing a last minute retirement sort of scenario, it's going to get real interesting in the Fortress because, and I know that there's going to be a group of people, hopefully really small, that are going to be sassy to Lehner at the first game too. And I hope it doesn't happen, but I know tensions are high right now. And it's just, and the closer we get to the start of the season, the more, you know, the news media is going to be like, so look at this guy. Remember when that happened? You know, just as we're all starting to forget about it, they're going to be like, so remember when? That's just what happens. They fuel the drama. We're going to pit them against each other, see how they do. And so hopefully it doesn't get too bad. And we support our goaltender, Robin Lehner.
And I think he'll do great. I'm just hoping the pressure doesn't get to him, but
I hope so too. That might be why we now have 4 goaltenders for some reason.
It's crazy to me, especially with everything happening with the Cove, whatever. The cap situation for everything, for every single team is crazy, and it's not just the Vegas Golden Knights. I mean, Tampa has to dump a bunch of cap. Like, there's a lot of,
they're so over.
and then there's teams like Detroit who have so much money that they can kind of mess with other teams and really bargain, right? I think Detroit actually is one of those teams this year that might actually be able to do a really quick rebuild and get into the playoffs. But
I can see them waiting as long as they can possibly wait to see what everybody else does. And then as soon as everybody gets settled, they just are like, ping, 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 ping.
Just pick up a whole bunch of guys.
Swoop people, I can see that happening.
Well, they just did that to Carolina with their starting goaltender. They grabbed Nedeljkovic and just for almost nothing. It was hilarious to see. But yeah, Red Wings fans, I know it hurts right now, but you guys are in for a treat, I think, this year.
I hope so. Poor things. This is the craziest. There are so much ridiculous movements. Some of these people I've never even heard of before. Where are they even coming from? I don't know. And then others, you're like, like Grubauer?
Yeah, Grubauer got traded.
Never in a million years did I think that was going to happen, to be honest with you. I didn't even cross my mind. Like, Carey Price not being protected either shocked me, but then I didn't even think about Grubauer. And now all of a sudden he's like, bye, go to the Kraken, see ya.
I was surprised. I mean, being a big Avalanche fan, Grubauer has some rocky games, like especially in the playoffs. I know last year, I was telling you about this, but Grubauer falls apart under pressure. Yeah. But to be fair, though, he was up there for the Vezina Trophy this year as well. So I'm not saying he's a bad goaltender. I just think that he definitely has some inconsistencies when it comes to pressure games. Mm-hmm. But speaking of Colorado, they were able to re-sign Gabriel Landeskog to 8 years at $7 million per year. I wish they let him go, to be honest with you. I love Landy, but and he plays great with McKinnon and Rantanen, but at the same time, you do need to move on. And I keep seeing these types of contracts where they just want to keep star players and like well-known players just for the sake of it. But that's not how you become an elite team. I know with teams like Pittsburgh, they keep Crosby and Malkin, but then they're not keeping all these extra guys that are really good, right? I wouldn't compare Landeskog to any of those guys. I mean, you have McKinnon and Rantanen, your top two guys, I would say, and then you kind of just have to build around them and see what you can do. And $7 million, that's a little. I'm not saying it's high for Landeskog. I know he took a bit of a discount to be with Colorado, but he would have made a bit more somewhere else. And I just don't like the term. I don't like those big long-term contracts. I know you could say that with Pietrangelo.
We have a couple of those. Yeah, I would say we have a couple of those. Mark Stone and Pietrangelo are both 8 years. Although I don't know how many years Mark has now. I think he's down to five or six. But when we signed him, it was an 8 year. And I remember when we got him, I was like, oh my God, it's so long. And then we got Pietrangelo last year. Poor kid, he came in the middle of everything, and I still am on the fence on him. He started to finally get into the rhythm at the end, but it was kind of like a little bit too late there. But we got him for a long time, and not cheap either. $7-8 million, $9 million for Pietrangelo, crazy.
The thing with hockey is, I think people don't understand this, is that because they're going at such a high speed and they're hitting each other at such a high speed and fighting and all this stuff, like you're very injury prone, and to last like even 4 or 5 years in the NHL is like a miracle. Is a miracle. So when you're signing these guys for 8 whatever years, Ovechkin, for example, signed another 5 years. He's not playing the rest of that contract.
No way, heck no.
He's already old enough, right? So he'll probably cash out 2-3 years in, and then they'll have to buy him out. But again, I'm happy for Landeskog. I just don't think it's the right fit for the Colorado Avalanche. And being a fan of that team, it's a little discouraging to see that they're trying to push that let's keep the core together thing. So but is what it is. Let's see. Big names.
I know. I'm trying to think of like the big ones that have happened, and everything keeps like as we're talking, things are dropping too, which is just crazy.
There's some goalies that dropped. Braden Holtby, former Vancouver Canuck, got a 1-year deal with.
Oh my God, this is news to me. I haven't seen this yet. Are you serious? They let a Holtby go?
Yeah.
Oh.
And then Vancouver got Halak for 1 year. So
interesting.
But
Holtby's a beast. I like Holtby.
Yeah.
That is a cheap contract though. What's going on here? Was this suspicious?
So again, I think it has to do with the fact that Holtby is known to be inconsistent, but at the same time, he signed a 2-year deal with Vancouver, and I think it was only for $2 million a year as well. But because of how bad Vancouver did last year, like that, they were just able to get him for around the same price. But Holtby is a great goaltender still. I think he still has another 5 years in him. It's just crazy how quick these these goalies drop in terms of value. Like Martin Jones, for example, from San Jose, he only signed a 1 year. Same thing, $2 million. I believe Carter Hutton, where is he? He just signed a 1 year as well, like league minimum, and he was there he is right here for Arizona.
Oh my gosh!
And it blows my mind because he was like 2 years ago, this guy was the talk of the town, and now he's like, I mean, to be fair, he had a lot of terrible games last year, and I understand why teams aren't as trusting as they should be.
Well, that's the same with Eric Holla, too. I was worried about Holla this year. He got more than I thought he was going to get because he got injured with us. We traded him, and he got injured again with his new team. And so he's still on the recovery. And I was kind of worried. I like Eric Holla a lot, and I was a little bit worried about him. But he's signed with the Bruins. So I see Legacy. Is that Legacy? I see.
Yeah, Legacy. Yeah. Was he one of your goalies for a bit?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's been around town too, right? Like a lot of these goaltenders have just been tossed around like dirt.
It's just I don't think I haven't seen goaltenders move around this much in a while. It's been a while.
Like there you go, Grubauer right there, 6 years, $35 million. Yeah, crazy, almost $6 million per year. That's going to be huge for Seattle, though. Like they weren't. I knew when they drafted Drieger and Vanacek, who is now back in Washington, by the way.
Yeah, they didn't hold on him for long at all. They were like, okay, it's been 3 days, bye.
Yeah, just send him back. Just send him back. We need him.
They even said that on their social media post. They said, it's been a great week. Thank you.
There's this meme that I just saw before we hopped on. It's just like Vanacek, first goalie in NHL history to not let a goal in for an expansion franchise. So, I mean, he's going to do great in Washington. But Grubauer, I think that's well deserved. I think they might have actually overpaid a bit, but I mean, it's an expansion team. They're going to figure it out. But
I mean, we paid a lot for our hot mess our first year, and it turned out to work out in our favor. So,
and then there's a couple major goalies. Let me just try to find him here. Ullmark right here from
20 million. Oh, I was like, dang, I read that wrong.
I don't know if he's worth that much personally. Like he's coming from Buffalo. I get that. Buffalo's dumpster fire in their own right, but Ullmark definitely, I think, deserves less than that. I think he's probably between 2 and 3 million type of goalie. But I didn't watch him that much last year, to be honest with you. With how terrible Buffalo's been, it's kind of hard to watch. So
poor Buffalo.
Yeah.
The Buffalo game's on. Put golf on.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'd rather watch golf. Thanks.
Yeah. Is there like a bowling channel or something I could watch instead?
Yeah.
Like. I think there was another big signing. Where is he? It was Mrazek for so Carolina and the Toronto Maple Leafs swapped goalies. Mrazek went to Toronto, and then here he is. And then Anderson went to Carolina. But Carolina seems to be changing their goalies almost every year. Carolina,
especially the last couple years, they've been kind of like, we're just going to move literally everybody around. Like, have they kept anyone? Yeah. I don't think so. They've kept very few people. And it's been interesting to see because I think that's hurting them in the long run because they don't have time. These players don't really have time to get to know each other and play before they're all moved around again. And it's like, you guys got to get it together. It's
interesting because it seems like every year, even though they're swapping a lot of guys in and out, like the core that is there with like Svechnikov and Aho and stuff like that seem to build that around, and then they have a competent team playing around them. So I'm not too worried about Carolina being good this year. I think they'll do just fine, but it's a very interesting move to pick up Anderson, who had a very off year last year, and then Toronto. Giving up Anderson like that is kind of interesting. It's not as bad as what happened with Fleury. I'll give him that, but he spent a lot of years in Toronto and kind of build up that franchise.
Yeah, that's a really interesting move. It's interesting.
Yeah, Brian Elliott. See, like there's just so many. Keith Yandel to Philadelphia at 900K. Like Keith Yandle's an absolute beauty. I think anybody who watches hockey knows that he's the guy who says "sonk" all the time. So
yeah,
very big in that barstool spit and chiclet scene. So
yes,
yeah, he's a beauty. I love him. I think 950K. I think he's on his way out. He's an older guy. I think he'll probably play decent with Philadelphia, but I don't expect him to be a top 4 defenseman type guy. I think he won't get as many minutes. I'm not even sure if he'll play the entire season, but good for him. He got another contract. Oh, yeah. After last year, there was a lot of shit being talked about Keith Yandle in Florida, and I thought that might have been his last year. So Sven, okay, I want to talk to you about this Sven Baertschi guy.
Yeah, I've not heard that name, to be honest with you. You were telling me a little bit before we started that he is prone to I'll be nice and say injuries.
Yeah.
So that's concerning. But he's at league minimum, so it's kind of like
it's not a bad move. I think he's had enough time off because to give you guys the context, he had a very bad concussion and it was just getting worse and worse and worse. And then he came back and tried to play for the Canucks and he just looked very off. He wouldn't go into the boards, wouldn't go to the scrums, did not want to get hit. And again, you're playing hockey. That's just like part of the nature of hockey. You have to be able to take those hits. So they said, okay, so we're going to put you on waivers, and he never played again. So with Baertschi coming in and signing that contract with Vegas, there must have been some sort of talk between Vegas and Baertschi. And again, you wouldn't sign a guy, you wouldn't throw any sort of money at a guy if you didn't think he was eligible to play.
Yeah. Or they might be using him as maybe they might not keep him and use him elsewhere because we didn't keep Haula. Haula got injured and it was like literally he was gone like that quick because of his knee injury, which rude. But for them to sign Sven like that, knowing he's got this history of, especially at the head, it's very interesting to me. I'm a little worried about him, to be honest.
It's funny because he was one of my favorite players in the Canucks. He is a very gifted player offensively. So if he's able to actually play, I think that's
what we need. I think
that's an absolute steal, 750K. But we'll have to see how that turns out. You don't sign a player unless you think he's actually going to be playing, right? Because you could have easily just let him retire, right?
Exactly. That's going to be interesting. I saw today when I was leaving work that Belmar, our Pierre Belmar, is going to. I say he's ours. He hasn't been on our team in a couple years now, but anyway, he's going to Tampa Bay, which is nice. Good for him. So happy for him.
It's like,
so. I'll take this team back-to-back wins. Heck yeah, let's go.
it's so crazy to me how many players Tampa's gone through, yet they've stayed so consistent. Like the Vancouver Canucks just picked up Luke Shen, who is arguably a good tops or bottoms 4 defenseman. But Paquette went to Montreal today. There's a couple other big trades or big signings that occurred from Tampa's roster. So, but I still think Tampa's their core is still together and they're still going to do great. So, Belmar played for Colorado last year, didn't he? Yeah. He's a good player. He's a good player.
I like him a lot. I was sad when we traded him, but he did well in Colorado, and it was nice to see him again, even though we were going against each other. But it was nice to see him again, and I'm excited for him to do. I think he'll fit really well in Tampa. I think he's good. He's a good player. I like him a lot. So
from what I hear, he has a really good personality, and he's good with the community as well. So he'll fit in well. I mean, it's sunny Florida. You're not going to have a bad time, right?
Yep.
We should talk about this because it's a little bit. I mean, personally, I don't really have a problem with Tony DeAngelo signing another contract. I think, again, whatever happens behind closed doors happens behind closed doors. The social media stuff is whatever.
Yep, I'm gonna pull up the controversy.
Yeah, pull it up.
I need a reminder. So Tony DeAngelo, for those of you who aren't aware, this is one of those controversial trades, which we've already had one with your video that you did.
Yeah.
And now we've got another one. Tony DeAngelo was basically the guy, was it last year or the year before? Or I guess the last couple of years, where he just basically came out politically and supported a side that's not very popular. He supported, Trump and all of that stuff. And so people are not happy that he's still getting traded and he's still allowed to play.
Yeah. Like, from my understanding, that wasn't the biggest issue. It was an issue for obvious reasons. I think, with any sort of sport, people aren't super fond of that. But the big thing was that apparently he had attitude issues. Again, this is secondhand information. This is whatever's coming out, right? So they could just be spinning it, being like, "Oh, this guy's an asshole behind the closed doors." I know that there was a fist fight after a game, and that was the last time he ever played with the Rangers. So, I think he's a great player. If there isn't much controversy, from my understanding, I know it doesn't show it here, but he got $1 million for 1 year. So it's not that big of a risk. And I think that, with Carolina's stacked team already, he'll fit in great.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. As long as he can stay out of trouble.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
And I know he had some burner accounts on Twitter, and he was, from my understanding, he was having some fun too. So
yeah, he's been very outspoken. There's been accusations with him with certain racist language and all of that stuff. Again, just nothing's been proven. It's just that people talking. So I don't know. He's just very controversial. He's kind of a hothead, and he's, according to articles, he's not necessarily somebody you want in your corner. So it's interesting to see the backlash. There's been a lot of Canes fans that are like, I'm burning my tickets and all of that. So
yeah,
hopefully he keeps his head down just a little bit.
Yeah, with there's a difference between I wanted to say this last video. There's a difference between concrete evidence and then accusations. Accusations, you should never be like, okay, like this person X, Y, and Z, they did this, whatever. That I'm not even really gonna pay attention to that until I find out the details. If there's actual concrete evidence, then you're like, okay, well, you can at least give some sort of explanation on why you don't want this player to be playing or why they should take a break or whatever. But with Tony DeAngelo, okay, yeah, you might be a bit of a dickhead from what I've heard, but we don't know that as fans. That's just all set. That's all just hearsay, right? Yeah. So I personally don't have anything against Tony DeAngelo. I think he should definitely still be in the NHL. Yeah. The fist fights and stuff like that, again, we don't know exactly how that all went down. That's all just been spout out by, mainstream.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be the first time there's been controversy around a signing or around a player in a team. All the drama that happened last season with Carlson, with a K, and his wife, and the behind the scenes drama that happened there a couple of seasons ago. Sometimes you just don't mesh well with people. And so hopefully he'll find a better situation with the Canes and it'll work out for him. And that way he won't have this bouncing around and this reputation anymore.
Well, speaking of his skill though, this guy is unbelievable in the power play. I think he'll do great, especially if he gets first power play minutes. He'll for sure do great with Carolina. I don't see him having any problem actually playing.
Yeah, he's a good player.
Zach Hyman, formerly of the Toronto Maple Leafs, signed a big deal with the Oilers. Oilers are my third or fourth favorite team. I lived in Edmonton for a bit, so I don't have that much ill will towards the Oilers. Yeah, but
they're kind of there they are team.
Yeah, so it's kind of like their city. It's just it's kind of there. You're like, okay, this is Edmonton. It's not. There's not a lot to do. Yeah. They do have the biggest mall in North America, I believe. Ooh. So I don't know if you knew that. That's a fun little fact. Yeah, West Edmonton Mall. If you haven't been there, they have an ice rink inside the actual. Oh my god. Yeah. People are playing tournaments and stuff. It's actually it's pretty crazy. Yeah. He signs for 7 years. I'm surprised that they signed him for this long. He is a great player. I don't know if he'll be playing with McDavid or Draisaitl, and I would think so if he's getting this much money. But that's a big loss for Toronto because Toronto's top six just keeps getting depleted. They lost Foligno, they lost Hyman, probably another couple players we haven't really touched on yet. But just above them is Braden Point from Tampa Bay. Got a big payout.
Huge.
Huge. One of the biggest ones I think we've seen in a while. 8 years, 76 million at 9.5. That's
Insane.
crazy, and it's well deserved too because he played out of his mind during the playoffs.
Oh yeah, I love the risk that Tampa last year was like, we're gonna go over our cap, we don't care.
Yeah,
and now here they are paying people like, oh, you want 10 million? You want almost 10 here? Take it. Fine.
Exactly. They're just throwing money around and hoping that someone has a small little injury, put them on long-term IR, and we'll go 26 over the cap for the playoffs and see if we can win.
I'll tell you what.
I didn't even see this one. Matthias Janmark.
Yeah, we extended his contract. It's a contract extension. I like him a lot. I'm glad we got to keep him. He got hurt last year, or this past season that just ended, and was out for quite some time. And finally showed back up at the tail end of the playoffs. But he's good. I like him a lot. I believe we got him last year right before the season started, or maybe right after. And he fit in really good, and he was definitely missed when he got hurt. So I'm excited that we got to extend him because I was worried. So we got him, we kept Martinez. So far, nobody else other than Fleury and Tomáš Nosek is gone. He's going to be with the Bruins now. He's gone. But so far, that's been pretty much it. We'll see what happens.
Not a lot of big pieces are missing from Vegas, but at the same time, like Fleury again is the big one. Toronto signs Alex Biega, former Canuck. That's interesting. Mike Hoffman, decent deal. He played very well for St. Louis. I'm surprised St. Louis didn't offer him an extra contract here. 3 years at 13. That's not terrible. Antti Ranta from Arizona, 2 years, $4 million. Here's the thing with Antti Ranta. Him and also Darcy Kemper for Arizona, who did play for Arizona. They were both very iffy. I think Kemper played a little bit better than Ranta. But when they were on, they were absolutely on. They were killing it. So maybe this is just a show-me contract, see how well you do. But I think he's probably worth a little more than $2 million. He's still a viable option for a starter. So, we'll see how that goes. Dougie Hamilton, another big signing. I don't see people love propping up Dougie Hamilton like he's like this like absolute superstar. I think he's really good.
Yeah. But
7 years for 63, it's a bit of an overpayment, I think.
What is that, $9 million a year? That's what we're paying Pietrangelo.
Yeah. I'll take Pietrangelo all day over Dougie Hamilton personally. But those are kind of all the big names. I mean, there's a big list here, so we could go. It's huge. Yeah, we could go through. I mean, a lot of these names.
We would be here for like 4 hours if we went through all of these. These are just the big guys. Ovechkin. I love how Ovechkin signed his extension, and everybody was losing their minds over it. I'm like, did you really think he was going to leave? Like, what? Why?
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I was just like, oh, water is wet. Ovechkin kept with the Capitals. I'm shocked by this information. Maybe that's just me, but I don't know.
I was shocked that they actually signed him for that long. Like
it is a long time.
Yeah, 5 years. Like I don't see him playing for another 2 or 3.
No way. Especially the way he plays. Like he's very rough. So
he's also slowing down if you actually watch his play too, right? Like he kind of just loves playing on the power play and just doing the one-timer shot.
Yes.
Sets himself up for that. But other than that, like you can definitely see the decline in his play. I think Sidney Crosby probably has a couple more years on him just because he does. Yeah. He is more agile, and I think his workout regimen's a little bit better than Ovechkin's from what I've seen anyway. So I think he's kept in shape. So
oh man, that
guy. I think that's really it. I don't like. I mean, again, we could go through like the list of names here that. I mean,
they're just everywhere. We would be here for forever, and this is all good. Probably, well, not all of it, but a lot of it's probably going to change in the next couple of days anyway. Like this season doesn't start for another month and a half, so people are going to get moved around. Oh, there's Martinez, 3 years. That's our guy. We extended him, so I'm excited for that. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting to see what happens with everybody being moved around. And Carey Price is on my watch list. Right now, they said he wasn't being protected, and I haven't heard anything since. I don't expect him to go anywhere, But I didn't expect Grubauer to go anywhere either, and so here we are. So yeah. I'm going to be watching Carey Price for sure, and I'm going to be watching my fellow Knights people when it comes to Robin Lehner, and we'll see. We still have to get rid of some people because we're still over the cap, I believe. So it'll be interesting to see if we get rid of any more big names or if we hold on to these little guys and make last-minute moves. It's going to be quite interesting the next month or so.
Yeah, totally. And again, like preseason starts, I think, in the next little bit here. I think it's early September. So we just have over a month here, and then the season starts in early October. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of moves made. There's still some guys out there that still need to be signed. And again, I think in terms of the actual like team structures, I think for the most part, most teams have kind of figured out who they want to pick and who they've already grabbed. But I mean, for example, Elias Pettersson of the Vancouver Canucks, he was supposed to be offer sheeted today by a couple teams, and that hasn't happened yet because the Vancouver Canucks are also in cap trouble, and I'm not sure if they're going to be able to sign him. So if that doesn't happen, that will make me upset if they can't get Pettersson, because they still got to sign Quinn Hughes, who's going to get like either the same money or a little bit less, and then they just grabbed a couple other guys like Dickinson, and Ulevy still needs to sign, which is one of our prospects or our defensive prospects. So that's pretty much it. This is the first episode of the hockey podcast on Geeks and Gamers, and we're really stoked about it because me and Tug's been talking hockey for like the last couple months.
I know. Every time Sports Wars was live on Sundays, I would sneak in and be like, "Hockey talk, you're being discriminatory." Yeah. Like the big three, I get it. I'm with you. I love football too. Can't wait for that. But yeah, so Jeremy finally was like, "Oh my God, fine, here."
Exactly. Yeah. And it's been really cool to see the support in the comments too. Like I've been scrolling through. It's like, oh, you guys are finally talking hockey.
Yeah.
I've been waiting forever, and I'm like, yes. Like I don't really care if you like me, but like let's talk hockey. You know.
Yeah.
So,
I'm excited.
So I'm really pumped up. So we'll probably do another video in the next week or so once things have kind of settled, and we'll discuss most of the teams, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. Let us know too, for those of you who are watching, let us know in the comments like what you guys think. I want to know what you think about the crazy thing with Fleury yesterday, what you think about if you think Price is going to stay, if you think Seattle's going to hold on to their people, if they're going to start. I mean, they've already moved one guy around, but are they going to hold on? I'm interested to hear, for those of you who've been watching and kind of hoping for hockey, I want to hear what you guys think. So comment below. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button. If you're not new here, hi. And we will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you all later. Bye.
Peace.